Hey, Pat and Doug here with another episode of the Wealthy Gym Owners. And we're going to talk about repackaging offers. I think that we're all hopefully pretty aware of the power of an offer getting somebody through the door, needing to be attractive to get somebody to take that what I think for most of our clients is that most meaningful step, actually walking through the front door. And most of us have had at least one offer that's worked pretty well, but as with most things, they kind of lose their luster, they go stale. So we're going to talk about how to reframe offers, how to repackage them so you can breathe some life back into them, so you can use the same structure to keep people coming back through the gym. So Doug, I wanted to kick off by one you did recently that was great. I mean, I think you reframed it exceptionally well, really put a completely different spin on something that's pretty simple. And I think it worked for you, it's worked for clients. So would you be willing to unpack that one?
Yeah. So, if you're listening to this, you've probably heard or done the free trial yourself, right? 7-day free trial, 14-day free trial. And, as you said, it kind of, all of us, especially with brick and mortar, there's only so many people that we can show our stuff to. And so over time, if they're seeing the same stuff, I kind of think of it as that new wrapping paper, or the fresh coat of paint, right? And so just positioning, all we did was basically take and say, okay, in a week, our average client, we want them to come 3 times. So instead of doing a 7-day trial, we said, hey, here's the first 3 sessions on us. And so it's really the same thing. Like for us on this podcast as gym owners, it's the same exact thing, right? It's 3 sessions over a week, get them in the door. But just that positioning of the first 3 on us, it sat a little bit differently. It feels more like a gift. So they feel like they're getting something. It doesn't feel like a trial. It feels like the first of 3 sessions. Or the first 3 sessions on us, the first of hopefully many. So what we found as we started getting people through the door on it is people were, oh, wow, thank you for the 3 sessions, as opposed to like, here's a 7-day trial. And again, that worked, but it became stale. And so it very much had that gift appeal. We've actually had some of our boardroom clients use it as a referral tool where they'll have, local practitioners use it to say, hey, so-and-so is giving you the first 3 sessions on them as a thank you for being a patient of so-and-so's clinic. So there's a ton of ways you can use it, but I thought, that was an interesting way. And some of this is like, I use the wrapping paper or the fresh coat of paint, like, when you're looking at, like, say you're looking at pictures of a Zillow listing or a house or something like that, and you see this living room and it's got this like awful paint color on it, and everything else is great about it, but your eyes can't get past the awful paint color. You put a nice paint color that you like on it, and it completely changes the look of the room. And I think our offers very much are the same, where, whether it's they've been looking at the same paint color or they don't like the previous paint color, just putting that fresh coat on it helps get some better eyeballs on it.
I think that historically, what we found, and I think what you just did is a great example of this, and really a really high level reframe. What we found very early on was like, hey, we need the conversion process and the service process to always feel pretty much the same, so we didn't have to teach team members something new every time we wanted to come up with something. Um, and so I know in the online world, we did this with Holly. She had countless 28-day programs, right? 28-day shred, 28-day summer slim down, 28-day this and that. And they were all largely the same program. Sure, the movements were different. The sales page had a different theme, but the delivery of it, the fulfillment side was pretty much the same. And then um, we'd see this with pretty much any front end offer. Would test with with our gyms, with our with our clients, franchisees throughout. It would be, you know, most of them would have a short-term free experiential thing or a 28-day to 6-week paid experiential thing. And even if the short term, one of the ways that we'd reframe would be, well, we're going to extend the duration of it, right? We started with a 7-day trial, then went to 14, then went to 30. But the conversion process was the same. We are still trying to flip people with what we now call a Godfather offer, which is a whole different episode, on day one, right? Because you're not assured that somebody's coming back for 30 days. We need to make an offer. So we might extend it that way to change the value, but everything remained the same. Or, for years, people did 6-week challenges. Like, how do we repackage this so somebody isn't like, well, I've already done that, or that's the same thing everybody else is doing. So just having a different way of framing it. But I know that you're I mean, just as diligent as could be about systems. So what's it look like from the outside versus the inside when you do a repackage?
Yeah. So when we start with the outside, I very much think of playing to like the cultural seasonality. So, we're recording this in fall. My offer is going to definitely be talking about fall and here's how great your summer was, but let's get back on track. And then, we roll into the holidays and we're starting to now talk about, maintaining through the holiday. Then, of course, you get into the new year. Then the spring is very much, get ready for summer. So I think it's very important to like get in the head of what your avatar is currently thinking. They're not thinking about working out. They're not thinking about small group personal training. They're not thinking about kettlebells and dumbbells and all that stuff. They're facing thoughts, pains, etc., and that has to do with what's going on in their bubble. And so the more we can talk about that, like, for example, are they thinking right now, man, I haven't done anything all summer. I need to get back on track. If I can call that out and it happens to be our 4-week fall reset, so be it, right? So yeah, I think messing on the outside with the words that you can call out your specific avatar, like pick one specific avatar that you're going to call out with the offer. And then the offer talks about what's going on in their head. And we make jokes all the time with our coaching clients when we're sharing our monthly marketing plan. And they're like, what do you get with this offer? Like, that's up to you. What you get, meaning how many times a week of personal training or, accountability check-ins and all that stuff. Frankly, we talk about the offer. That doesn't matter. What matters is here's the avatar that this is for. Here's what they're struggling with. And here's some fresh coat of paint seasonality to it that makes it seem like it's relevant to right now. So if we think of all of these as maybe different poles in the water, right? All of these are different poles in the water. Once a client or at this point there would be a lead, a prospect bites, it's the same process. So whether somebody comes in from a website form because they happen to see our trial on the website, or they saw a 4-week, jumpstart somewhere in the community, any of those, we're hopefully collecting name, phone number, and email. Once we capture name, phone number, email, and it goes into our pipeline, the process is the exact same. So we're going to follow up with them. We're going to try to book them for, what we call success sessions. Some people call a game planning session, strategy session. We all do the same thing. It's that, 30 to 60 minute meeting. And then from there, my goal is to always, what we would call future pace, talk about how this is going to take longer than a week. This is going to take longer than 2 weeks. Based upon what you told me today, here's what I recommend, and sell them right into membership. And I've if it's helpful from a mindset perspective, at the sales table, I've thought of the trial now as like a downsell. So if I can't get them right to membership, then sure, you can do the 28 day and here's the price and yada, yada, yada. But, on the outside, I just think, I'm no fisherman, but I know like there are certain baits that work. There are certain, times a year that are better to fish, all that stuff. Like all of those analogies very much play into how can I refresh these offers, repackage these offers. But once they fill out that form, it's the exact same thing. And, from an integrity standpoint, like what really helped me is your core program is like, that's the best thing you offer. It should be, right? Like the core thing that you do is the best thing that you offer. And so from an integrity standpoint, I know that our best clients, the people that get the best results, the people that we help the most, go into our core program and stay, right? The people that get the best results are not the people that do a 28 day and leave. So from an integrity standpoint, that also helped us both, internally for ourselves and, being comfortable promoting these different offers and flipping people. Because I don't want it to feel like bait and switch. That's not the goal.
Very cool. So if you've been kind of feeling like, hey, this season's a little bit slow, or the thing that I've been doing for a while has started to get diminishing returns, the mechanics of it are probably fine. The process that you use is probably fine. You just need to go back and say, okay, how can I freshen this up to make sure that it speaks to the person we want to speak to and speaks to what they're thinking about or care about right now? If you do that, you're probably going to be able to breathe some life back into your offer and get it working again. So, that's repackaging offers. And, I think, Doug, that's the bulk of it. Is there anything else you want to touch on, or are we good?
No, I think it's just paying attention to which ones stick would be the last thing I would take away. So let's say you do change something, you do repackage it, and a large part of marketing is testing. And so, we don't need to necessarily go super far into the weeds with this. And I don't want this to be overwhelming. But if you throw something out there and you don't get any leads from it, I would, probably like to put a time frame to it. If a week goes by and you've been promoting it for that week, and you didn't get anything, I'm probably going to try to go back to the drawing board and put a fresh coat of paint on it. And then, run it for another week or two, see if it gets something. And if not, fresh coat of paint. If it does, stick with it until that's why I think, paying attention to how many leads is it generating, because if, notoriously we have this, I was talking with a client about this yesterday, just because the calendar changes to October 1st does not mean that you need a new offer, right? If the offer is working, run it until it stops working. At some point, it will need a fresh coat of paint. But if you're paying attention and you're like, okay, I got a couple leads from it this week, awesome. Let me follow up with those leads, get them in. Once it stops working, that's when you put the fresh coat of paint on it. So that would just be my final thing, is don't feel like you need to change stuff every week or every 2 weeks or every month, but it's more just paying attention to when it stops working. That's probably a good sign that it needs to have a fresh coat of paint on it.
Very good insight that I think far too many people overlook. They think that they get bored with it because it's a new month long before the market gets bored with it. So, all right. Well, that's repackaging offers with another episode. Wealthy Gym Owner in the books. Pat and Doug signing off. See ya.